All right. I'm not going to talk about the debates that went on between here Truedank and Twist, and then with him and Julie. I'm not going to bother with that. Really, man, I watched enough of it. It was boring for the most part. That's the end of my critique of it. Okay, but now let's cut to the real chase. Castizo Futurism is going to be the future, at least in my view. Once again, as I always try to say, I could be wrong. I could be. I feel like this is the actual. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to have the dead air there, but basically, I feel like that's what's going to happen. We see a guy in McAllen, Texas, and he had a chainsaw. And he said, it was only between an N word and a cop. He's telling people, get the fuck out of here, this and that. And as I said yesterday about the Latin Kings, this is the future for America. In all intents and purposes. White folks who, for the most part, apart from the folks who, the occasional, white nationalists or whichever term you want to use for these types of folks, who are going to brandish a weapon. Not use it, but brandish it, I believe is the proper legal term. But they're not going to do anything. We hear these fantastical stories. When I saw on Jason Unruh's channel, he uploaded this video of this lady who was supposedly talking about the cops were riding or behind the cops. There was a truck with a Confederate flag, this and that, and she was talking to her neighbor who said the Nazis won, this and that. It sounded very fantastical to me. That's not to say that I'm not going to be Mr. We love our cops, our law enforcement. No. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do, sorry about that, folks. What I am going to say, though, is it just sounds a bit too much like a fantasy type of thing. It sounds kind of more like a hate boner, at least in my view. But the future is going to be Castizo Futurism. Is it basically Hispanics, whether they're Mexican or... I know that there's a difference between Hispanic and Latino. I do realize that. But I would say that, whether they're Mexican, El Salvadoran, this and that, they have the heart. They have the cojones to want to go out there and work. White folks in general, I'm just going to say it, white folks in general don't have them. I know, I'm going to say, well, what about the folks that live in... Okay. I'm saying in general, though, they don't. White folks will continue to become a minority. And I don't say that as, I'm not going to be a wignat like that. I'm just going to say that's the reality. That's just, it is what it is. I've heard that Asians are the highest growing demographic. And I would say in general is that Asians are going to stay to their own for the most part. Whether that's Chinese, whether that's Vietnamese, whether that's, I think even to a point, I'm stretching the term Asian because South Asian, but Indians as well, they're going to stick to their own. They're going to stick to their own folks. I don't give a hoot what you say. That's my take. That's my spicy take on it. You know what? Screw it. I will show the video. Let me see if I can find it and I'll show y'all. Let me see here. Okay, here we go. Let me see here if I can. I don't know if you can hear the audio. Let me give me a moment there, folks. Should have prepared better. Thank you. All right, hold on there. Let me get everything set up here. Let's take a couple minutes. Boomer, 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 boomer. Boomer, 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 boomer. Okay, Let me see here. Okay, here we go. I don't know if it'll let me. There we go.
Get the fuck out of here! Sorry! Sorry! Get the fuck! Whoa! Get the fuck! Whoa! That bullshit is a fucking nigger and a bad cop do not belong here! This is not up there! This is here! Get the fuck home! Fucking idiots, do this shit again! Get the fuck out of here! They're not doing anything. No, they're escalating the bullshit. Hey! Move! I'm not your victim. Get the fuck out of here!
Well, there we go. I was gonna let that play, but so there you go. There you go, folks. Yeah, and now they're gonna try to get this guy to press charges. As we see here, he's got the he's got the chainsaw in hand, chasing folks down the way. He just revved it up a couple times. I'm not gonna sit here and defend the guy. What I will say, sorry there. Now you get to see me, get to see what I was looking at. Okay. Anywho, so with that, we kind of saw, the amount of rage. If a white person did that, how many people would lose their damn minds? I mean, apart from the Karens here and there, apart from that woman, in Hollywood, what was it? Or I think it was just LA last year that was saying N-word this, N-word that, was jumping up and down. Apart from that, all white folks can do is just throw a temper tantrum. Even I have to say that. I mean, I'm trying to be practical. I'm trying to be pragmatic and realize what the truth is. I'm not a Wignat who's just like, oh, white people did this. No, I don't care about that anymore. I'm concerned about what's going to happen in the future and where we need to stand and where, and how you need to be prepared. I think culturally, a lot of aspects of, not to say that, capitalism hasn't ruined aspects of culture and destroyed the barriers. Of course they have. But I would say the cultural bonds between, talking about Mexican folklore, this and that, a lot of that has not been messed with. Those bonds are still there, at least in my view. Whereas with white folks in general, those are gone. I'm just going to say it, they're gone. I don't care, you can tell me all about the, well, but what about, the German towns? What about, the annual, beer fest and Oktoberfest and all that? Oh, I don't care about that. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't really care about that. The truth is that Castizo Futurism is going to be the way, at least as far as I see it. I'll see that, some honkies are going to, go up and, be loud and this and that. And, we bark a lot, but we're not going to do a lot. This isn't the 1950s anymore. This isn't the 1960s. This isn't even the 1970s. White folks are far more woke. And, when you see young white folks, just shaving their heads, this and that in solidarity for Black Lives Matter, that's a sign that, we are willing to, join up with people that don't care. Black folks are just using us. Once again, I know that this sounds very Wignat. I know. And very reactionary. I get that. I get it. I'm just saying is that I'm trying to look at the truth as it is. I'm trying not to cope about it. I'm just trying to accept it and just be like, okay. But it is a sad thing to say the least, it's gonna be a bumpy ride these next few years, and all I can tell y'all is just to get in where you fit it. That's all I can tell y'all. For the young kids out there, or for the younger dudes, you know, I was looking at my statistics a little bit, at least according to YouTube, allegedly. You know, most of my audience is male and 18 to 24 or something like that. There's a couple of 30-year-olds in there, but in general, you know, it is what it is. I would just say, man, is it just kind of be, just be aware of what's going to happen. You know, I would definitely tell y'all to learn Spanish. You know, that's what I need to do. I know I need to learn me some Spanish. I've lived in Texas since I was 10 years old, and I still haven't learned Spanish, except, for a couple of words here and there. Hell, I can barely speak English. I can barely speak English. It's just, it's just, anyway. But, at this point, man, it's just going to be wild, dude, to say the least. It's just going to be crazy. What's going to happen with, these things. I mean, the riots, like I say, are not going to change anything, law-wise. It's like, yeah, buildings are destroyed, this and that, yeah. But in general, they're not going to change anything. It's still going to be, we're hearing a lot of stuff in the air, but so far, nothing is going to change. Not much is going to change. The cops are still going to be the cops. These groups will probably gain a little bit of increase in membership, but in general, and not so much. I think everyone's just so bored, and they are just so hungry for any sort of potential. They're hungry for that. They're hungry for this sort of potential that could come about. They're like, yes, we could have what we want, so we're going to go for it. Go for the gusto and just, let's do it. And it's not there. It isn't there. So far, they have not, said apart from some anarchists here and there, and partly, I don't know, maybe the PSL's involved, who knows, but I would say that in general, there just isn't that much pragmatic change that's going to be made. It's just going to be the same old, man. It's going to be the same old stuff, just kind of slowly but surely, going to change, man. But I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see. With that, I went too damn long on that. I should have cut this off probably, just after the video. But anywho, I'm going to keep it there. It's just, that's all I can say. I mean, I know that I've been repeating myself over and over in these videos, but just like in general, that's how I see it, man. When I see Amazon, have Black Lives Matter, when I see Ben and Jerry's, and I know people are going to say, you're just being the typical anti-SJW and being mad because, capitalist companies won't do what you want. Oh, I don't care about wokeness, but when they use the phrase Black Lives Matter, when they use the rhetoric of, what they intend, what they're trying to teach people, when corporations co-opt that, your message is lost. So when I see these companies use that, when I see SpaghettiOs having Black Lives Matter, that means that you have lost. I'm just going to say that. It means that you have lost the narrative. You should always be controlling the narrative. You should be the one that is leading this charge. When a marketing guy or when a public relations guy is the one that's actually leading the show from a company and says, hey, well, we have to be in solidarity. We don't want our companies attacked. We don't want the, so let's put Black Lives Matter up on our webpage. Oh, okay. Let's do that on our Twitter too. Okay, yeah, sure. We don't actually care about those things. No, of course not. We don't care about any of those things. But we got to give the image, the appearance. Let's go back to Enter the Dragon. That opening scene, of course, which was originally cut, I think, from the original. Anyway, with Bruce Lee, and he's talking to that master. He says, don't be afraid of the man, the image. It's all that you have to, destroy the image, and you destroy the person, and it's one of the things. And of course, that was an alliteration to the end of the movie where, they're in that room with all the mirrors and everything else. And of course, Bruce Lee thinking about it. breaks all the glass and breaks all the the mirrors, I should say, and then finds Set Yin and runs him through with the spear that was already in the wall, and that was the end of it. But anyway, that's how I feel in general. Is the image, the narrative has been taken away. When they're talking about Black Lives Matter on ESPN, you've lost the narrative. When John Boyega, is in London saying, "Oh, well, I grew up in London. I spent all my life in London as a black man and all that thing, when he does that, that shows that you've already lost. You've already lost that narrative. If you want to make any actual change, I'm trying to balance out the fact that I said some very Wignatish things at the beginning. I'm trying to balance it out here. That's what I'm trying to do. Because I have some residual Wignat-isms. All right. So I apologize for that, for my audience that may be somewhat more left-wing. So just to say, I have some reactionary elements. Apologies. I'm working on that. Anyway, when John Boyega is standing up there with a loudspeaker, we've always been around and all this, talking about black folks, you have lost the narrative. If you allow any person to start using Black Lives Matter, then you have lost it. You have allowed capitalism to once again take control of the narrative. You've allowed companies to take control of it and allowed it to become watered down and just making it a woke capitalism where let's hire more black folks. Let's have more black CEOs. Let's have more, black CFOs. Let's have more, people in management that are black and everything else. And maybe that'll change things. More black cops, which is not going to change anything. The system is what it is. That's the whole idea also when they have to have the black white supremacist type of thing. This goes back to the Dave Chappelle skit, but it's like the idea of you have to put Asian white supremacist or black white supremacist or Samoan white supremacist, talking about Tiny from I can't even think of it now, Proud Boys. When you have those things, it shows that you have that they have to keep up and use that trigger word of white supremacy to describe it. And you've lost. But I think I've repeated myself over and over. I already lost that one person. So anyway, I'll see you later, folks. Have a good one. Have a good night. Bye-bye.